Well, music stopped feeling like freedom and starting to be like pressure more and more during the pandemic when I saw myself, I think, kind of, let's say, as more of a slave from this whole uh, scene, techno scene. And depending on, let's say, money and whatnot, and depending on external factors for me to live. So it became much more of a job than a passion. And it all started as a passion, right? I play music since I'm a kid. I started when I was 9 playing the bass, and I always pursued this passion, this love for music. And the moment that becomes your job, it kind of puts a lot of pressure, and then you don't know when the next payroll is gonna be, when the next show is gonna be, and then yeah, I just got lost. Honestly, I just got really, really lost into all the music that I was making, and I just felt this internal pressure that I had to deliver. Also, social media put a lot of pressure, self-imposed, of course, that I have to be perfect, that I have to be like everyone else, and yeah, and I even lost myself in the process. I guess the expectations that were placed early in my career were basically just to have fun. Like I was always a hard worker, but I'm lucky enough. I mean, I never had any other job. Was always my job to be a DJ, a producer. I never had any other job. I worked in a studio for a month in Brazil, but besides that, I always did what I do. So I knew that early on, I just wanted to have fun. I just wanted to do what I love. So yeah, of course, the big expectation is like, the more you do it, the more you want to do, and the bigger you want to be, and you just want to, of course, be successful. But once you get your first breakthrough, okay, what's next? What's the next festival I want to play? What's the next label I want to release on? What's the next collaboration remix I want to have? All those milestones. So then there are, of course, self-imposed expectations. I guess maybe also my parents, because they really bet on me from the get-go. They had some expectations, but they never said anything. So maybe that. So for that also, I would really be even harder on myself, because I was like, I cannot let them down either, which I don't think I did. I don't think I ever chose this path, but also I don't think I never followed it. Let me rephrase it, because I mean, what I follow is my intuition always, but I don't think I chose it, because since I'm a little kid, I listen to melodies in my mind. I can hear a melody, or no, I started playing the guitar, the bass. Now I could hear, and being just a kid, I could hear any melody and I could play, and in my mind was something that I always thought that everyone could do it. But I don't think that's the case. It's not something normal. So I don't think I chose it. I think it chose me. And I don't think I am. I mean, I am a creator for sure, but I'm not the sole author of all my music. I just channel it. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a messenger, if you will. So yeah, I think is not one or the other. I think it's just, I just follow my feeling, and I don't know what else to do. I just know how to make music, and I know it's going to be the one thing that I'm going to be doing until I die. I think this feeling comes, the channeling thing. I mean, you can put any name you wanted. If you're religious, you can call it God. If you can call it light, you can call it the universe, the divine. I think it's something like that. I do believe in God, not religious, but I do believe in God. So I think it's from there. Like whatever that is, it's just being connected, you know. So whenever I'm very connected with myself, and very true to myself, I get much more creative. And also when I'm very close to nature, you know, I'm taking care of myself, I'm exercising, I'm eating really well, you know, meditating, breathing, and stuff like that. I just feel that those things, they come to me naturally. So I just listen and, you know, just go through me. It's funny because the single, um, exactly this one, Silence, um, the name before, I had a different name before on this song. The name was Solitude. But because we have another song on the album name, Alone, I was like, I think it's a bit redundant of the feeling. But I even thought about putting both names, like Silence slash Solitude, because when I worked this first melody, or the first sounds of it, I was going through a phase in my life that I was living in solitude. Now I just moved to Berlin. I was feeling, I was gonna say lonely, but I was also starting to feel good just by myself. You know, like when I was by myself, I was just feeling good being by myself. So that's where the name came from. But Silence comes from also, I think, a big part of my childhood where I've been through traumas, and I always kept in silence. And you know, that's the first part of the whole idea of the album. You know, like if you listen to the album, the first part, and I wanted to do that almost as a story. And no, I don't know if I ever tell this story, but it's the story from, like, that's why the first song is just a number, which is the date I was born, and then is like, it just evolves into my, you know, my process in life. And silence was a big part of my life, which I kept all this pains and all these traumas in silence, and yeah, up until I was an adult, and then I could start talking about it and talking with therapists and with my wife and, you know, friends and stuff, and could really digest it and really process it. So emotionally means it's a big thing. It's a very big thing. It's a very introspective tune. You know, I think is the only song in the album that is sort of a techno track, but like very repetitive. You know, we have this theme. It's very beautiful and melodic, but it's very introspective. It's not per se like a dance floor track, but it's a techno track at the same time. So when I decided to do it and put it in the album, that was the segue that I wanted to go for. So yeah, emotionally it's just it's a heavy one, I would say, in the best way possible, but it has a lot of emotional charge. I don't really expect them to feel anything. I just want them to listen. It's, again, it's kind of a repetitive tune, and it's, for being a techno track, especially from like during this, well, it's 2026 now, right? So all the music is super fast, super short, super I don't know, disposable, if you will. And this, I mean, it's not a very long tune, but I think it's the longest in the album. Just want people to listen to it and really like pay attention and listen to it, you know. So yeah, and I just want them to feel what they feel. Nothing, no expectations. I guess pressure is mostly self-imposed in my life. I don't feel per se any, especially right now, I don't feel any external pressure, and if there is, it doesn't really touch me, very little. If it's self-imposed in the sense of like, okay, I have a pressure to be a better artist, or to be a better husband, or to be a better friend, but it's nothing that is really critical or hurtful or painful, if you will. So I live right now a much more relaxed life, much more easy life, and I chose that because my life was I always felt under pressure my whole life. I always felt that I had to report to people, to, managers, to agents, to partners, to name it, to everyone, But I realized that was just in my mind. It was just self-imposed, Whereas if I just say, hey, I need a break, hey, I need some time, hey, it's too much for me, people back off, and it's fine, So just finding that balance in my life. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I do like having pressure to, let's say, deliver something, to make something like this and that. But since now I really believe in the flow of life, I don't feel pressured at all. Oh, this album was only possible to exist because I turned off the pressure. It was literally, I still remembered when I intentionally knew I was making this album. It was when I was working on Skyfall, right after I finished Alone, because Alone I did like in one session. It was super fast to make it. I was just having fun in the studio because I was a bit pissed with the whole techno scene. I was like, I don't have more shows, I don't have this and that, maybe my career is over. So fuck off. I'm just gonna make music that I like. I got my Virus synth, my bass, put some beats, and I just started to, I was like, I like this BPM, I don't even care. And I just did like in a few hours session. And then next day, the same thing. I was like, yeah, I don't feel like making techno, so I'm gonna make another one of those. And I was listening to Massive Attack, and I was like, oh, this beat is cool. So if you listen to Skyfall, the beat reminds a bit of Massive Attack. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I was like, I'm loving this. And I was like, maybe I'm doing something different, And in the beginning, I even thought that I was gonna do like a new project or a new Elias. So back then, I didn't know it was gonna be yet an album of my name, Victor Ruiz, So yeah, I just decided to do that, and it just, because I had no pressure, no expectation. This is a very funny story. I mean, now it's funny. At the time, I think it was tragic, because I started to doubt my whole career. I think it was right when the pandemic was over. So I remember I had a really good year in 2022, like with bookings wise. I was like, okay, things are going good. And then I remember beginning of 2023 was exactly, I still remember I had a talk with my former manager, and she said, look, you're just a dude, and I'm just gonna quote what she said to me because I think that's very interesting. You're a white male, mid-30s, making techno. Nobody wants to book you. And that for me was like, wow, you guys are putting me in a box. So I was like, fuck. And that was like really, I was really, it was a shock. I was like, gotcha. So because of that, my music has no value, I thought, so I was like, okay, so then I think my whole career is gonna go to shit. You know, like I'm not gonna get bookings, I'm not gonna get money anymore, I'm not gonna survive, I'm gonna have to find a job, gonna have to, you know, and my whole life started to spin. My whole life, my personal life was really bad. I was not depressed, but I was in a, it took me in a very bad state of mind, and yeah, I was very unhappy and yeah, lost, I'd say, pretty much. Well, Alone was the first song that I did for the album, not timeline wise, but intentionally, I'd say. It was exactly when after having the talk with my manager, former manager, and I just went to the studio and just let whatever, you know, flow, and that's why the name Alone. I felt very alone in this whole musical world, you know, even though I have really great people around me. I was like, wow, it feels very lonely, you know, like, yeah, wow. So it's just the beginning of the whole process, you know. Alone is just the moment of exactly the feeling of isolation, that I'm isolated from everything and everyone. And I was isolating myself also, like internally, you know, like not in a good way. Again, I think that's where the whole victim mentality and the victim process really starts to take shape, without me realizing, of course. But I really dressed, or let's say I took the part really well, the victim role, really, really well. So yeah, that's how it all started. I had some thoughts about doing that. I really had some thoughts about embracing being a victim, and I mean, not having thoughts. Let me rephrase that. I really embraced the victim mentality, actually, and I started having some thoughts about just giving up. Yeah, 100%. I just thought that I was just disposable, very disposable as an artist. But at the same time, I didn't, you know, because I knew and I know that I have so much to say as an artist, you know, as a musician, as a producer, as a person as well, you know, even speaking here, I think it's a great part of why I'm also doing this whole album, is to talk a little bit more, you know, and for people to really, know a bit more of this, not just this process, but, you know, who I am really, because I think, I have some things to say. Right now, I'm a victor, man. I'm a fucking victor. Fuck yeah. Well, back then when I would be in silence by myself, there was just, first of all, I never wanted to be in silence because there was so much noise internally, and I was just blaming everyone and everywhere and everything, and it was just not good. I was just not in a good place. So it was tough times. It was tough times, you know. It was and if you put in paper, I have everything I always wanted, you know, like live in a great place, have a great partner, you know, great friends around, I'm healthy, you know, my family's doing well, you know, so all those things. But the thing is, back then, like, my mind was so busy that I would always identify myself solely as Victor Ruiz, the techno DJ. And me, Victor, I'm so much more than that. You know, I'm not just a techno DJ. I am, yeah, sure, that's my job, but I'm so much more than that, you know. So for me it was very difficult to detach from that, because that was pretty much everything I knew in my life. So imagine you have this whole persona, this whole idea of who you are in your life, and then that thing is taken away from you, kind of, just because you are who you are. That fucked me up. It really fucked me up. So I was not in a good place. So silence was almost... I would do some meditations, try to do some meditations, but it was very noisy. It was very difficult. It was a long process to not even detach, but to snap out of it, because I had a lot of I'd say wake up calls in my life during that period. Personal. For sure, my wife helped me so much with that. She just shook me. Said, dude, you have to face your fucking traumas. You have to face your fears. You have to face all this shit that is keeping you, not being yourself and being a victim. You're living your life as a victim, and I mean, there's this quote that I really love from a book that I read during the pandemic also. And it say, in life you either are a victim or a victor. And I remember when I read that, I was like, oh, that's so cool. My name is, means something else. That's pretty cool. So when she said that to me, I still remember when was that. It was like a year and a half ago, more or less. That really, like, I think that one was like the last wake up call. And I was already doing some therapy and some stuff like that. And it was when I took ownership of like, look, it doesn't matter what happened in my past. It doesn't matter what happened in my childhood. It doesn't matter any external shit, anything else that happened. Yeah, so what, it happened, It's not just these things, they cannot have control over me, because they are having control over me. So if I don't snap out of this, and if I don't heal myself in this whole process, I'll keep repeating over and over and over, like an endless circle or cycle of being a victim. So it was basically a lot of self-work. It was a lot of facing reality as it is, and just realizing that in order for me not to be a victim anymore, I have to quit all the bullshit. So I quit all the bullshit in my life. And I started to get real. And to say like, okay, I have to heal this part, do this, and that. And so I did. And it's funny because if I never started this album, I don't think I would have done this process. So the album really made me a victor, after all. It really helped me this process of healing. So I'll say to become a victor, I had to heal. And in order to heal, I had to go deep into work. So, yeah. I guess everything started to shift and to change for real. I mean, I think, yeah, if I'm honest, was in the beginning of 2025. So beginning of last year. Again, when I started to quit all the bullshit, the internal bullshit, when I say that, no? Like being honest with myself. And when I say that, it means big part of it as well is to stop caring about what other people would think of me, which is a big thing for me, because I was always a people pleaser. And people, yeah, I think, yeah, just people pleaser in general, trying to, how can I say that? Just to fit, I tried to fit everywhere, and that's where I got kind of lost, like in the past. So I was like, just putting some limits, internal limits, and with people around me as well. Say, look, I'm just gonna prioritize myself and gonna start saying no to some things that I don't accept anymore because that's doesn't serve me. So I have to put myself first now. So that's when things started to change, and it was very interesting because lots of my relationships, they changed. Like the closer ones got really bad, much better. Like with my wife, with really close friends, like you go through like a patch that you're just readjusting, but some people start to leave your life because you just, and I do believe that when you go into a certain frequency, like you higher frequency, people, your friends around you and people around you, either gonna level up or they're gonna leave. So that kind of happened, and it's super cool to see that. So it's a weird place when people start to not like you, but it's just also so freeing to just say like, I don't give a shit, I just don't care. And that's a big part of things changing internally, it's just the whole process. And that reflects totally into the career. And again, releasing this album is a big statement of like, look, this is very different from what I'm doing, but it's just the music that I love is part of the music that I love doing. I also love doing techno. Make no mistake that. But I just think that, yeah, for me, it's not even a bold move. It's just the right move to do, So I have no expectations towards anything. As I said before, I just want people to listen to it, and that's it. Nothing else. I guess music was one of the most representative parts of the whole transformation, the whole process, not just the album, but of course all the other music that I was doing on the side, if you will, which was actually all the stuff that I put out, this past years. It was always like a kind of my escape to process my feelings. It's very interesting that I'm talking here today, but whoever knows me, like really, I'm a very introspective guy. Like if I'm around friends, I can chat a lot, but if we're in a big like party, like house party or whatever with a lot of people, I generally don't talk much. I listen to people a lot. I really like to observe and listen. So in that's who I am. It's part of who I am. So the way I process and feelings, besides talking to people that are close to me in therapy and whatnot, is through music. Is a big output. Is a big place that I'm just like putting things out. So for sure is that's why I've been just doing so much different kind of music, because it's just there's so much different stuff. Sundance, for sure, it's one of those, I think it's one of the most unreal tunes that I've done so far. And I've done a lot of music. And I'll tell you why. The melody of the bass line, the main melody of the whole thing, I did it, I would say in 2009. And I kept the file and I never lost it, which is a fucking miracle because I changed so many computers over time. I remember finding this file, just the melody, it was different plugins and whatnot. And I was like, oh man, this is good. And it was like during the pandemic, I had no shows. I was like, I might as well just make music that I want to make, just different stuff. And I just did that, like a demo with a few things. So pretty much the base of Sundance, how it is. And in parallel, I just did like a remix for Perry Farrell, which is Jane's Addiction lead singer. And for anyone that knows me, I'm a huge rock fan, metal fan. And Jane's Addiction is a huge band, and for me it was always like, I remember receiving like an email, hey, Perry wants you to remix this tune. So I did a remix with drums from Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters, rest in peace. And from that relationship came the idea of that there was this middle guy that was talking between Perry's manager and me. He's like, look, Perry wants to collaborate with you. And I was like, look, I have this demo here. I don't know if it interests him. Just, send it over. I was like, okay, cool. Nothing for like a month. And I remember getting the demo back. I was like, hey, by the way, Perry worked on the tune. And these are the vocals, and check it out. And I remember listening to it. I was like, oh my God. It's probably like the whole tune that you can listen now. I maybe removed like one or two parts of the vocal because it was a lot of vocals. But it blew my mind. So it represents a part of my life that is like, look, your dream as a kid of being a rock star, being into rock, it's kind of closer than you think it is, and I've done all these years of techno producing, playing, whatever, but always, that part of me, that little kid still lives inside of me and still wants to be a rock star. So just doing this collaboration, it means a lot to me. It's fucking cool. So yeah, Sundance means the world to me, and I'm so glad that also they accepted to put in the album, because so yeah, it's so cool to have Perry on the album, and we haven't met yet. I'm playing a festival this year, Lollapalooza in Berlin. He's one of the guys behind the festival, and he wanted me to play there. They suggested, and they booked me, and he's always there. So we're gonna meet for the first time, and it's gonna be really cool. Probably gonna even perform together or something like that. But just for me, the fact of meeting a legend like that and being part of the album, it means a lot. It and for me, it just makes sense, musically, artistically, and energetically, like what this album represents. It's a whole part of my story. So yeah, it had to be. And the cool part is also Sundance has guitars from my brother. My brother's a guitar player, so there's some guitar lines that he recorded for the tune as well. So it's a pretty cool collaboration. I'll put it that way. Sundance helped me, or even gave me permission for me to explore sounds and explore areas that were really linked to who I truly am. Therefore, it's not just the outcome, the result of the tune, but the imprint it left in me. Once I finished it, it's just, I think is a song that gave me permission, for me to be who I am and start this journey of not caring about what other people will think about me, or which direction I will go music-wise. But because in the end, let's face it, nobody really cares. I am the one that really cares. Like, I care about my career, my life, so I might as well have fun. So I guess that's it.